You're muted, Ryan.
There we go. Good start. Hey, Pulse of the Hawks. I was just saying, hey, I love the new music, man. If that doesn't get you fired up after the first week of camp, yeah, it's we're full. We're right in the mix, guys. Pulse of the Hawks. Get your comments and questions in. Get your super chats in too, because they'll take priority over anything else. Because we're gonna get to all of that throughout the show and really hit it hard. So we got a lot to talk about. Coming up on the other side, Mookie Alexander hanging out with us. So we're going to get to a ton of camp talk, your Q&As on the other side.
So y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to.
Don't you ever talk about me.
Yeah, let's go. It's go time, baby.
Here comes Gino. Steps up, takes that shot to the end zone. It is Metcalf.
I'm just about that action, boss.
You about to go get it. You just like to do it.
That's what it is.
Off me.
Nobody in the world can do that.
Are you kidding me? Trying to do that. Pass is caught back in. Jackson Smith is jigged on. The circus music moves in. Throws with Baldwin. Oh my goodness, he caught it.
This is the Hawk Zone Rundown with your hosts, Ryan and Bryce.
Welcome back to the Hawks Zone Rundown, guys. Pulse of the Hawks, man, that's the fun part about going live, right? You just get these little mishaps, start off the show going mute, but all good. We are back on track. And guys, just before, make sure you sub to the channel, like the videos, share the videos, and all that. So guys, flood the comment section. We're going to get it going right now. We've had a week of camp here. Things are exciting because we're back on the field. We're playing ball, and we're getting to see just guys out there ripping and running. We're focusing on kind of guys we're keen in on, and just a lot of stuff happening. But guys, fellas, week one, Mookie, I'll start with you, man. What's been some of your biggest takeaways so far from camp?
No, I'm actually not muted. I'm just pretending. Anyway, yeah, my biggest takeaway from training camp so far is how much they are talking about running the ball on both sides, whether it's McDonald's comments or the offensive line itself, or some of the comments Leonard Williams made. I think it was Saturday's practice. So yes, it feels like the Seahawks have been trying to emphasize running the ball for like 5-6 years now. But I think that there is going to be a concerted effort to run the ball more and more effectively, not to the point of like the extreme 2018 stuff, like almost we're going to 1978 level of run heavy. But it is clearly a point of emphasis for this coaching staff. And I mean, one of the first things we're bringing up here is unfortunately Kenny McIntosh's injury. And if we're going to talk about running the ball, then one of the key camp battles here was who was going to be the third string running back, or I guess running back 3, third down back. We're splitting hairs here. And sadly, Kenny Mack's season is already over, and it wasn't on a running play. It was on a special teams play. I mean, that hurts both ways.
Yeah, I know. When you see an injury like that to a guy that you know the team's extremely high on too, like Kenny Mack, year one gets injured in the mock game. We don't see him till the last 3 weeks of the season. He really starts to get some form of being a part of the team, and then he's basically relegated to practice squad duty. He doesn't even really get into many of the games. And that last year, same kind of story. Dressed for all 17, but didn't really see action until late in the year, which, for you and me, Ryan, that was a big thing, is seeing him actually start to run the ball and be a part of the offense, not just a special teams kind of guy or depth piece. And then obviously now this. And I think this one, as much as it's, the ACL, it's that mental obstacle to get over, right? It's a non-contact injury. So he does all this training, and it's something where it's not like someone pulled him back funny or something like that in a tackle in a game. It literally happened, like you said, Mookie, returning kicks in practice to find another role for him. And he's now got to deal with this injury. It's devastating for the player, especially. And for the Seahawks too, like we were talking about this, the running back room being one of the strongest in the NFL potentially, with K9, with Charbonnet, Kenny Mack, and then Martinez being added through the draft. Now that depth gets a little tested because Martinez now has to step up. George Halani is now way more a part of this conversation than I think any of us really anticipated him being if the initial four had stayed healthy throughout camp. It gets really interesting now to see how this shakes up the roster construction for this team. And do they bring in another running back potentially? I know they brought in another DK today, but an actual true running back potentially that has some NFL years behind him. It'll be really interesting to see what happens now off of this injury.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah, we both were high on Kenny Mack, all three of us, and yeah, it was interesting last year because he was healthy, and when he was in there, he always looked good, right? Positive yards every time he touched the football, really. But it would have been interesting, like we said, he had that versatility to play special teams as well. So now that's a question mark as well there. But I mean, it's also tough for the player because he was a 7th round pick. He now has an injury history. He is a running back, right? So you kind of think like, especially if Damian Martinez has any significance this year, that could really just seal Kenny Mack's faith as a Seahawk. And then, as far as football career goes, he's still young enough, but being that late round guy, it's a tough one for him for sure. So yeah, I mean, prayers up for Kenny, and you just hope he recovers. But yeah, as far as the Seahawks concerned, man, like you said, Bryce, I think I mean, Damian Martinez is still a guy that excites me to really come in and now say, okay, is there going to be a real specific role for him and really push in camp here to see significant minutes come into the season. Like you said, Halani's still there. So again, I still think the depth's still there, because your 2 top gunners are still there. And K9, by all accounts, is people are excited and the way he's looking to start camp off, it looks fast and ready to go. So all signs are still pointing, in my opinion, pretty good in that room. Obviously, Kenny's a loss, but I still think I'm still excited for this room.
Yeah, I am fairly excited for this room, the running back room. I think that Detroit, for the time being, has got the top running back depth just because of Gibbs and Montgomery alone. I don't even remember who their 3rd string running back is, but when those two disproportionately get the ball, they're going to have so much importance. But you could do a lot worse than K9 and Charbonnet. And now for Martinez, the Dan Viens, of course, on Sundays, Hawk Zone run down the super crossover with Seahawks Forever. He noted that Martinez has been having issues in catching the ball and some pass protection things, but apparently today in pads, that physical style, it was working in pass pro against, I think it was Jamie Sheriff. Now Jamie is moving to inside linebacker, so just put that in mind. But still, it sounded like Martinez had a pretty good day of camp, and he might be somebody who does better in pads just because of his style. But the thing to consider about McIntosh is he was probably the best route runner out of all the running backs on the team. So you lose him. Martinez was not really a receiving back in college, and it's showing itself through camp apparently early on with some of the drops he's dealing with. But I mean, Walker and Charbonnet are more than capable of catching passes, but in terms of them being, I'm going to have to use the most extreme example, a McCaffrey type of route runner that you could use, not just out of the backfield running, wheel routes or Texas routes or whatever, but also somebody you can actually line up out wide. It's not really the strength of either one of them. So for Martinez, you don't want it to be this way. He has the inside track by default on being the 3rd running back, but it's not one just yet because Holani did impress last year in preseason. And again, I bring up the receiving part of it, but the special teams part of it is Holani plays special teams. Martinez doesn't really do special teams at all. So I think that's still going to matter as far as this competition. But yeah, for McIntosh, it's tough. 2 significant injuries in 3 seasons. I mean, that's 75% of your rookie contract. And I guess, because he's not going to play this year, that contract tolls over, right? So either tolls over or he just becomes a restricted free agent at the end of next year, right?
I believe he becomes a restricted free agent, Mookie. I don't think because he's played a full season, I don't think he'd be able to get that kind of same thing Darrell Taylor did where it kind of tolls over or whatever. I think he'd be a restricted free agent, which I think, again, Seattle could probably tender him with a mid-round or mid to late round tender and be fine. I don't think, he's going anywhere. But moving to another topic that came up at obviously training camp, Charles Cross extension talks got brought up by the local media, and he said that they really haven't started into negotiations. He's really focused on, obviously, this season. The thing for me, though, was he said he wants to stay in Seattle. That is one of his things. He really wants to be in Seattle. So I'm going to ask you guys this. Obviously, Rashawn Slater got his Big contract here for a tackle at a 4-year, $114 million guaranteed deal. Or sorry, $114 million, $92 million guaranteed. So would you be more comfortable if Seattle paid Cross at some point and did the extension this summer? Or are you more willing to, because you theoretically have 2 years of club control this year and next year with the 5th-year extension, wait to see what he does this year and see if he has another ceiling to get to? Because that's the one thing I think for me with Charles Cross is he's played well, but for the number 9 overall pick that he was, I expect him to be a dominant left tackle. That's what I want to see, because you may save some money now if you pay him, but you're just going to get an average to above average left tackle. I want to see a guy that's going to be a top 10 NFL tackle at the left tackle spot. So Ryan, I'll start with you and then we can go to Mookie.
Yeah, I'm sort of mixed on this, to be honest with you. I kind of look at it like, like you said, you expect him to be a top 10 or, for that money. But then you also have to look at it, how many of those guys are out there. I think the question comes down to Seattle. Do you see this guy in your long-term plans no matter what? I don't know if this year is going to make or break the decision. I think, you've seen enough from Cross to know whether he's going to be your tackle or not for the future. So it really just comes down to money, and maybe working out that dollar. I mean, I think if they get to some kind of commitment and dollar value, I think they'll rather do it sooner than later. I know it's on a contract year and you can kind of keep pushing it a little bit, but like these guys don't grow on trees. I think it would be hard for me to see them not have this guy in the building for the future, especially now that they feel like, okay, they brought in a Gray Zabel. They're trying to fix that guard spot. We're hoping Abe Lucas stays healthy. He's going to be obviously another guy to consider down the road. So do you just kind of take care of business now and get it over with? For me, I mean, I agree. I'm not saying he's lighting the world on fire, and yeah, he's that top 10 pick, so you expect a lot more. But I look at it like, if you're John Schneider and the Seahawks, where do you see him, picture him, long-term plans? I think they know now. I don't think they have to see him play another season, say, does he have a little more there? I really think it's going to come down to how this line plays as a whole anyways. It's not just going to be on Cross. I think, from obviously we've seen last year and the disaster the coaching staff was on that side of the ball. So I think there's high expectations for that line in general, just with this new staff, like not top 5, but a serviceable offensive line. So yeah, that's how I look at it. I think it's just, do they see him in their long-term plans? If they do, let's start talking extension.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's the politically correct. It's the sensible thing for Cross to say, I want to be in Seattle forever. If he said, I'll go to whoever pays me, then that's the fastest way possible to get the fan base to turn on you. But I would like Cross to be here as a long-term tackle, because we know that the history of John Schneider extending any of the offensive linemen he's drafted is very, very, it's very bare. It's Justin Britton. That's it, right? In terms of guys he's drafted, and then he extended Unger, but Unger was a Ruskell pick. So that history is pretty short, and we know that most of the offensive linemen that he has drafted haven't been really worthy of a big-time extension in the first place. But for Cross, the difference between him and Rashawn Slater is that Slater was an all-pro selection a few years ago. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. Cross has been a good but not quite great left tackle. So I think picking up that 5th-year option, again, a rarity in itself for the Seahawks with any of their first-round picks, that kind of bought them some time. And it's not like there are a whole bunch of other tackles waiting for extensions this year. I mean, Slater's gotten paid. What's his name? Alaric Jackson, I think, got his extension. I'm just trying to think of anybody else. I don't remember if Garrett Bowles was one of the recent contract extensions, but he's been a top tackle for a while. So I feel like he will get extended. It's just a matter of when it'll happen. It would be silly if Cross has a very good year and then they wait it out until the next season. To me, I think the absolute latest that a Cross extension happens is assuming that he has a good, healthy year, end of this season. I don't see a need for it to drag on super long. And I would like to see the Seahawks be pretty proactive when it comes to extending their young talent, because as we know about all the drama going on in Dallas, yes, constantly doing the Jerry Jones thing where you're constantly waiting and just hands in pockets while everybody else gets their deal, and then you extend at a much higher rate. I'd rather the Seahawks not do that. So yeah, I'm not worried about the Charles Cross extension talks at the moment.
Yeah, like again, I want to see him dominate this year, and I think this is in this new scheme. I think it's a good chance he can. Just based on what his skill set is, I think the zone blocking scheme in the run game, I think allows him to use his athleticism, which he definitely has. And I think, not necessarily being stuck on an island and straight drop back might be a nice change of pace for this offensive line. So yeah, no, I agree, Mookie. Like, I'd be okay if the earliest we see a cross extension is kind of like what we used to see with John with the LOB era, where it was, November, December, we start hearing like, oh, they're going to extend somebody like they did with KJ once and they did with some of these other guys. I think that'd be fine with me. Let's see how he performs to start with, because if you lock up a bunch of money to it and it doesn't pan out, it's going to be something you might end up regretting at a point. And I know Seattle's got a lot of cap space, and that's everything everyone's talking about, but there are some guys that they're going to need to give extensions to at some point out of this draft class. So we'll see how it goes. But the next thing, let's talk about this QB room, because the word out of camp so far is all three quarterbacks are playing quite well. They have their ups and downs, but apparently Sam's gotten better each and every day. Drew Lock has looked good. He's looked better than his first stint here in Seattle, which is, great to hear, because he's going to be the backup. And then obviously the one that's getting a lot of hype at points is Jalen Milroe, which, from what we're hearing from, Brian Nimhauser of Hawk Blogger and some of these other reporters, Corbin Smith, even Greg Bell, Brady Henderson, is that Milroe is looking better than what they thought he was going to look like at this point. A lot of them had, potential thoughts of Sam Howell-esque moments with accuracy issues. And so far, Jalen's been pretty consistent, it sounds like. But, Mookie, what have you heard coming out of camp and such in that regard to this quarterback room?
Oh, everything's perfect. I think they got 3 franchise quarterbacks. We could get maybe 7 or 8 first-round picks combined. But I've just learned that Jalen Milroe got picked off, a pick 6 indeed, by Nick Emenwari, a one-handed pick, I think it was, back to the house on a pass intended for Brady Russell. So looks to me like Milroe is a bust, and there is no point in having drafted him to begin with. Schneider has completely failed the team by picking the wrong quarterback. Now, in all seriousness, with Milroe in particular, I think the mechanics is something that McDonald had mentioned a few days ago, as far as where he has taken a step since spring. So that'd be what, rookie mini camp and into mini camp. And I think mechanics are a major part of some of his lowlights that he had at Alabama. So if that's fixable, those things can get cleaned up. Not everybody's able to clean up their mechanics and set their feet right and it impacts their accuracy. Some guys just never get it, but Milroe seems to have a strong work ethic, and we'll see what happens when he's got live bodies going up against him in preseason. But I'd rather hear good stories and hear and see good reports than Milroe is not even ready for 2026 either. So really, it's Darnold and Milroe I'm paying most attention to, because with Locke, he kind of is who he is at this point. He is a capable backup quarterback who can win you a game or two in a pinch as a emergency starter. But Drew Lock as the long-term franchise quarterback, I think there's more than enough evidence that it's just not going to happen. So with Darnold, it sounds like he's actually had some good throws that have been dropped. And now it's time to panic about JSN, because a couple of those drops are apparently on him. But still, it sounds like he's being decisive in the pockets. And sometimes being decisive is not the best thing, because if it's decisive but it's a terrible decision, then you've got issues. But still, quarterback room is probably going to be the one thing that people are going to watch a lot in preseason. I don't know how much they're going to play Darnold in August. I don't think they should play him a lot. But with Milroe, he's going to be kind of the main event. He's going to be the reason people actually bother to watch in the second half. I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle actually signed a 4th quarterback just to eat up snaps, especially if Milroe actually plays well. Like, all right, we've seen enough out of him. We know that Darnold's going to be the starter, so it'll just be like Lock, a little bit of Milroe, and then random 4th guy's going to get cut as soon as August 28th hits, or whenever cut down day is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited about this quarterback room, just like I have been the whole offseason. I think, you have the present that can compete right now. And like you said, Mookie locks that backup that, we've seen in the NFL now. If a guy goes down, he's a guy that can hold the water and, go 2-2 or something like that, and keep you in the division race. So, and then you got a guy that potentially your future quarterback. So all eyes on him during preseason, and see how he develops and see how he goes. But, I think having these three guys too, could be a situation where they're all pushing each other as well, right? Just everyone's trying to get better. They're all in kind of that. Sam, in a way, is in another prove it year. He does have a lot of people that doubt him still, right? Thinking it's a one-hit wonder. So he's got to come back and have another solid year and say, hey, no, I'm for real now. Drew Lock just has to, play well, maintain, and be that solid backup, and Milroe just develop. So it's great. I'm so much, I know there's the Geno fans, and I thought he did a great job here, but I'm so much more excited about this room now going into this season and beyond than I was last year and even the season before, to be honest. So I'm excited, and it doesn't surprise me that we're hearing some good things out of camp right now from these guys.
It's because we finally have the correct bridge actually built from a quarterback to a potential future quarterback.
Right.
Unlike we had before, where there was a bridge and there was nothing on the other end but the abyss. And so now we've at least got that. But just a little bit of kind of more news to add to that Charles Cross talk that we just had a few moments ago. The Colts have just agreed to terms with Bernard Raman on a 4-year, $100 million extension. Raman gets $60 million guaranteed in the deal. So there's another young tackle that is getting paid.
I mean,
so
do you think, I mean, would you want to get it done? If you're Schneider, do you think this is a guy that they want long-term, right? Or do you think they're actually thinking he's got to have a step up? Like, especially with this history of this line, right? The last, X amount of years here that, to say, would it be a bit of an uproar too if we let Cross walk? I'm not saying, obviously it's not a make or break to do it right now, but like you said, you just announced these contracts. Now they're starting to happen. If you're Charles Cross too, you might say, hey, I want to get this done.
It's a fair argument. Like it's definitely an argument to have. Like, the thing for me though, is I haven't seen Cross be what I thought he was going to be yet. Like, he's been good. I'm not saying he hasn't been good. But, like, it almost feels like the Russell Okung situation all over again, like, to an extent where Russell Okung was a good left tackle, but he never was, I think, in the conversation as a top 10 left tackle or top 5 left tackle in the NFL. And on the other side, I look at it and go, okay, left tackles also don't grow on trees, right? Like, we went through that time period where, George Fant, Gary Gilliam, and it took us trading to get Dwayne Brown to really solve that, because the only reason that happened is because George Fant blew out his knee in the preseason, and they went with Reese Odiombo, and that just did not pan out for that first couple games of the season. I think it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks here to see what happens, because I could see it happening now that, some of these contracts are happening. I could see John going, hey, like, let's not wait for this really to balloon, and now we're in a different situation.
Well, and then to the I'll see what you say, but then, say he does have a breakout year, or the year you expect. Now it becomes more expensive. Maybe you can get him on what you think might be a fair deal, going into the future. If he does have that year, then you're paying even more for him. I and I agree, Bryce. Like, I'm not saying that he's lighting the world on fire, but again, man, I just don't know if I want to go on the hunt again for a guy even to play like Charles Cross, right? I mean, even that is not easy to find. So, and just with this, I just want a solid line, and I'm willing to, even if you think I'm willing to, maybe not like almost quote unquote overpay the guy a little bit. Like, maybe he hasn't lived up to what we thought that top 10 is, but just to have a guy that's solid enough. And maybe with these new coaches, you get him right now, extend him, and he might just have that step up year because of this new staff and this new, can't be worse than what we've seen last year with Ryan Grubb and company. So I just think that's going to help him alone. So, I mean, I just look at it like, I just want to have a decent O-line. You have Zabel, Now there's a question mark with the other guard spot competition there. Everything else seems to be coming together a little bit. So that's just how I'm looking at it. So I just think, yeah, again, I go back to, if you're Schneider, if you think this guy's long term, let's try to get this done, and I think it'll be better for the Seahawks. Moogie, what you think? I know we're going back to this again, but yeah, does it matter really how he plays for Schneider to really, make a decision one way or another here?
I think it should. If he ends up struggling in a new offense, especially an offense that's supposed to be more O-line friendly in terms of the blocking scheme and the game planning and all of that, and what they intend to do on offense, or what's been advertised or what's been promised that they're going to change from last year, then you may have some second thoughts. But again, you have that fifth-year option. So it's not like he's going to, you're going to let him walk and get a comp pick or something, and you're going to once again have a guy leave on his rookie contract. But to me, it's, if he's playing well the first several games of the season into the bye week, just extend him then. It's again one of those things where if it happens at the end of the season, maybe it's a little more expensive, but it's with a year left on his deal. If it happens right now or anytime within the next several weeks, I'm cool with that too. As I've said a few times on this show before, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And yeah, Cross hasn't been perfect. He hasn't looked like a top 3 tackle. He's not Tristan Wirfs or anything, but he's still young. He's entering year 4 with more reps. And the fact that he's had, knock on wood, a pretty light injury history, I think that with that experience and with better coaching and a better offense, and maybe, quite importantly, hopefully a better left guard, that Cross can be one of the better tackles in the league, or at least somewhere in that top 10, top 12 range. And you won't necessarily have to break the bank. I don't think it's going to be a case where if they extend Cross, it's going to be market reset. If it's one of those situations where he's going to be among the highest paid left tackles without being the highest paid left tackle, that is perfectly sensible to me. It's a much different story, because I know we got comments on the other side about Abe Lucas. Lucas, there's going to be hesitation. One, he doesn't have a 5th-year option. So this is a make it or break it. And the second bit is the injury history, and the fact that it's not injury history of, oh, it's an arm thing and then it's an ankle. It's no, knee. And that's a problem right there. Now, he looks great physically right now, but he needs to hold up this season before I think we can make any declarations there about extending Lucas. But I think Cross has got to be one of the priorities for the Seahawks over the next several months. So that's all 3 of us muted then. I mean, I faked mine, but
yeah, that's fair.
We're live. Hey, we're live, man. We are live.
Yeah,
hey guys, flood the questions. But yeah, Bryce, go ahead, man.
So let's go with this, guys. Standouts at camp. Who are some of the names that you've been seeing a lot of, hearing a lot about? I'll start. One name for me that I've heard a decent amount about is a guy that I've been super high on, and that's Jalen Sundell. He's been someone that, I think they're trying to find a way to get him in the starting lineup. Clearly, whether it's a guard or center at this point, they're finding a way to get Jalen Sundell on the starting offensive line.
Well, you took my answer. One of my answers, because I feel like it's notable. Dan Viens had noted that's one of the most common lineup 11 on 11 was Olu next to Sundell. And I'll tell you what, if the right guard comes down to Sundell, Haynes, and Bradford in no particular order, then I think one of those 3 is gone from the roster. And in Sundell's case, I like his chances to stay on the roster, because worst case scenario to me for him is he's a backup center. But with Haynes and Bradford, much different story, because it's possible Sundell could become like the backup right guard too. So my standout so far has been Elijah Arroyo. And we'll Bryce, you and I will get to go on the road this week and get to see him for ourselves. But I'm pretty excited about Arroyo and the Seahawks tight end room in general. So we know that Fant's gone, and don't know if he's going to end up in Miami or Cincy, or if he ends up in New Orleans, and we get to see him pretty soon because they're on the schedule this season. But Arroyo was brought in to be a high quality, not just a pass catching tight end, but somebody you could line up pretty much like a receiver, kind of in that Jimmy Graham mold. And speaking of somebody from the University of Miami, but he's just from the highlights, he looks like a natural with the ball in his hands. In other words, his running style is smooth. His hands are great. I know that he was touted as a good route runner in college. So I think that Arroyo is somebody who could be a major factor in this Seahawks offense, purely from a passing game perspective. And this is something that we haven't said a whole lot when it comes to Seahawks tight ends, because that history is pretty depressing. Jimmy Graham rewrote the record books in under 3 seasons. He's the all-time leader in receptions, yards, and touchdowns for tight ends in Seahawks history. And he played like 20-something games. It's just been a position where there's no continuity after 3 or 4 years, despite many efforts to improve that position. So I'm excited for the Arroyo-Barner combo, like tight end 3, whatever. It can be Sauber, it can be Russell, whomever. But Arroyo and Barner together, I think you could have a really bright tight end pairing there.
I agree with that, Mookie, and that's definitely something, you hear about in camp. And I think this is now where that McIntosh injury plays interesting, because do they keep an extra receiver, an extra tight end in that group? Maybe they keep 4 tight ends in Saubert and Russell now, because Oots has basically apparently been, mainly at fullback. He hasn't got many tight end reps. But I think the other thing that's interesting is that what I've heard is that Arroyo's been used as a wideout. He's been playing out as an X, and they've been using him that way as well, with Barner on the field. So it's like 12 personnel, but it's not really, because you've got a tight end out there playing. So you're kind of in 11 because of his athleticism. So it does create some mismatches. So no, I agree. I think the Arroyo-Barner duo is going to be something that's really exciting to see going forward. Ryan, what's one name that, someone for you that's kind of been the standout?
Yeah, I mean, Nick Emenwar for me, and I just think that that's just a guy I'm going to keep my eyes on all season. I think he's just going to get more and more playing time in this Mike McDonald defense. I mean, really, they had a first round grade on him too. So even though picked in the second round, it's kind of like the Hawks got 2 first rounders. So even though Gray Zabel's going to sort of cement that guard spot, I just expect him to be a rookie lineman and try to be an upgrade at this point, and I think he will get better. But I think Emin Ward, for me, just want to see Mike use him as that kind of chess piece, and it's going to be interesting to see how he sort of gets established in this defense. So yeah, that's the guy for me. But everyone we just talked about, man, I just think it's an exciting young group, and it's but that would be the guy for me.
All right then, guys. Well, with that being said, let's get into these Q&As. We've got quite a few of them. And let's get in a bit of an extended Q&A session tonight, because we'll have the really long live shows coming up at the end of the week, Mookie, which you and me will discuss at a point here. But Ryan, let's fire some of these Q&As. Do you want to pull up any of the ones that you've kind of got knocked off here? There we go.
Let's kick this one Sun One's Eve regular on the Pulse of the Hawks. Mookie must already doing the 2-a-days with the pod camp coverage. Got that old school ceiling fan on extra high to beat the summer heat. Yeah, that thing's flying over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's 85 degrees, so it's been quite warm. It's going to get a little hotter over the next couple of days. So luckily, by the time I'm at camp physically, it's not going to be as hot, and there might even be some cloud cover. I'm just hoping for no rain, because I don't want to bring a jacket with me. But this ceiling fan, so valuable. It means
definitely,
I don't have to AC.
Yeah, it was definitely a selling feature back in the day when those ceiling fans were first invented, right? It was just a must-have, and you really don't see them anymore. But hey, man, if you got it, use it, and it's hot here too, so I wouldn't mind one of those. Unfortunately, I don't have one. What's the old school expression, guys? Bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. Assuming I'd rather be flying X-Wings talking about Charles Cross. So, there's kind of that debate, hey, what you got. He's not all pro. He's not setting things on fire here, but hey, he's solid. And I think it's a lot of it to do with, hey, like, people are going to get scared if they're like, whoa, not that, like you said, Mookie, you don't have to do it, but it's just, sometimes, like, let's just get it done. Then you kind of know you got Zabel, you got Cross, because like you said, you don't really even know about Abe yet. Your center position is still up in the air, right? So yeah, good point, right? You can look at it like that.
Yeah, well, just think about a practical example, real life example, as far as the Seahawks and not extending or getting rid of quality offensive linemen in Schneider's tenure. Okay, Okung walks, fine. His replacement was, as you said, Odiombo. No, it was Bradley Sowell first.
There's Bradley Sowell and Luke Jokel, and then George Fant and Jamarcus Webb. It was a revolving door.
Yeah, it was a total revolving door, and then they had to trade for Dwayne Brown. And then with Unger, when they dealt Unger for Graham, it's like, okay, you've dealt Unger. I know he had some injuries and all that, but he was really good when healthy. So who's your replacement for Unger? Oh, here's Drew Nowak. And then he was so bad they cut him in the middle of the season to play Patrick Lewis, who himself wasn't all that great. And then they moved Justin Britt over to center, his third different position on the line in 3 years. And then they had a little bit of continuity there. So just replacing guys and then not having at least breaking even. You have like huge downgrades after that. That's been a big problem for the Seahawks in the past. So, I mean, if you have a cross succession plan, you better get to work now. Otherwise, keep cross.
Other one, guys. This is kind of a little depressing, but this Seattle guy, new to the chat, 8-7 Seahawks, missed the playoffs. Offense going to be pathetic. O-line awful. Running back can't stay healthy. He said his name's Seattle guy. Part of me kind of thinks this is kind of a Niners guy in disguise, because I don't know, man. The way that's this to me is kind of the minority. A lot of people are kind of saying 11 wins is kind of the floor, or maybe 10. You kind of 12 is maybe the ceiling. Some people think 13. Mookie, what do you think? I mean, yeah, okay, Ken's got a injury history, but I mean, healthy right now. You got some depth. I kind of like the mentality of what this offense could be, and obviously with the coaching staff coming in. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, first of all, I guess we're going to end up like forfeiting or canceling 2 of the games in a 17-game season, because 8-7, I don't know how you get that in a 17-game year. And then the second bit is, no, I don't think it's unreasonable to think the Seahawks miss the playoffs. Now, if they're pathetic, guess what? They're going to be some more coaching changes. But I don't put it like beyond the realm of possibility that the Seahawks offense is not as good as we hope it would be. But I think it will be better than last year. But it's very easy to see how the Seahawks offense could underwhelm or not perform up to our more lofty expectations, because you're still asking. This is a pretty inexperienced offensive line still. Cross and Lucas are the veterans. They're in year 4, but you got a rookie at left guard. You got possibly a first-year, not even possibly. It is going to be a first-year starter at center, whether it's Oluwatimi, first full year starting, or Sundell. And then right guard, Bradford would be in year 3 if he wins the job. And if he doesn't, then Christian Haynes gets to be the first-year starter in his second season. So it's an inexperienced offensive line, generally speaking. So there are definitely ways that the Seahawks offense could just not be all that great, whether it's Darnold regressing or the offensive line struggling, or the receivers like Kupp and MVS not being as good as we hope they would be. So it's all possible. I would settle for like that 11 to 15 range on offense, as long as the Seahawks defense is top 10. If it's 11 to 15 on offense and the Seahawks defense takes a step back, Seattle's got no shot at the playoffs. But if it's 11 and 15 on offense, 11 to 15 on offense, and top 10 defense, they should be a playoff team. If it's a top 10 offense, then I think they're going to be in the playoffs, even if the defense underperforms a bit. So I don't expect a horrible, I don't expect that level of doom from the Seahawks, but I wouldn't be, totally shocked if they end up in that 8-9 win range again this year, because it's still a lot of roster turnover. And you've got new coaches coming in within McDonald's staff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. It's interesting. What I was going to say, though, is if you watch my episode with Bobby Peters, he does a really good job of explaining what this offense will be able to do. And in his opinion, the floor of this offense gets raised. It won't be necessarily as bad. I think if we have a bunch of injuries, it could be. But you look at what the Saints went through last year with a massacre of injuries on that team. Kubiak was still able to put, I would say, a more well-balanced offense together than what Ryan Grubb was able to do with a majority of a healthy offense all year. So if the floor of this team's offense gets better and this defense plays level, I don't see us being 8 or 9 win team again. I think it's a good chance we're a 10 win or plus team. I think the Seahawks are going to win. Like I said in one of our shows a couple of weeks ago, I said my bold prediction was the Seahawks are going to win 2 playoff games this year. I think that's very reasonable with this team. So we'll see. Obviously, it's camp still, but that was my bold take. Was I think the Seahawks could win 2 playoff games. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I love that take. I miss the Sonics.
So do I.
Yeah, I think so. There's always those rumors, Mookie, that they're getting another team. I heard the latest was possibly the Pelicans. Did you hear that rumor?
Yeah, I saw that, and really, I don't want it to be just moving
No,
one
because
team
that's what
over,
happened to us.
because that would also be twice for New Orleans. They used to be the New Orleans Jazz, and then in Utah, the famous Jazz town of Salt Lake City, and then they got the Pelicans, well, Hornets, and then became the Pelicans. So, and there's even rumors like, hey, if when, not even if anymore, the Blazers are up for sale. The possibility that they would just move up by 5 from Portland to Seattle, that would be awful, because I mean that's a rivalry there, Seattle and Portland back in the day. And I don't think the Blazers are going to move, but I guess the NBA is talking about the commissioners going, hey, the Moda Center needs some upgrades, or they need a new arena. That arena is as old as the one as old as the one that the Celtics have, and they just got sold for billions upon billions of dollars. Key Arena, well, now Climate Pledge Arena, that's also about the same age. It's got nothing to do with building yet another arena and asking citizens to go pay for that.
Yeah, it's the whole political part of it. It sucks. Let's get to a couple more here, guys. There's some good ones tonight. Here's one from Amy. Amy, appreciate you always in the chat. I'd rather see him do better than spend more instead of see him be the same or worse at the pace. Talking about Charles Cross. I mean, yeah, we're touching on Cross a lot tonight. I can't see him being worse. Now, knock on wood. I think this new system for him is going to benefit him. But I mean, it's a possibility. But I mean, feel like we're beating this like a dead horse now. But I just don't see it as a gamble. You know what I mean? It's just, do you do it now or do you do it later?
Yeah, I don't think the money is going to be a factor in his performance. Like if he gets paid, I don't think he's just going to half-ass it out on the field. No. So I think he's committed to being the best possible tackle he can be, or being one of the best tackles in the NFL. So just want to see him get paid. It's going to be like a surreal moment for us, the moment that the Seahawks actually pay an offensive lineman that they drafted significant money. It's been a minute since that's happened.
MWM.
Kind of an NBA theme tonight, I guess. But after my Grizzlies were stolen from the city, talking Vancouver, I will never ever be an NBA fan again. I mean, MWM in the chat. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, the Grizzlies have been gone for years now. That's. I mean, hey, I'm not mad at you. The only thing is, they were here for 6 years and never had a chance. At least, the one thing about the Sonics, such a rich history that anytime a team leaves, it's brutal for the fan base. But you look at the Sonics, man. I mean, to me, it's apples and oranges, because they were here 40 years, a championship. And just, it's always sneaky how they do it. It's almost similar, behind closed doors, and here these guys come in to save the day, and the whole plan is we're leaving from the get-go. The same thing happened with Vancouver, but I hated it too. But if anybody's going to get a team back, it's going to be Seattle. I think that was one shot for Vancouver, but MWM, I don't blame you, man. So everyone's agreeing. Grizzlies got screwed.
Yeah, they moved too many Pacific. They try or almost try to move so many Pacific Northwest teams away. Seahawks almost got moved.
Yeah, they did.
A documentary on that. The Grizzlies got moved. The Seattle Pilots got moved to Milwaukee, and now you got the Mariners. And so it's happened too many times. Like leave the Pacific Northwest alone. This place loves sports.
Yeah, hey man, at least you're not living in the city of Oakland the last few years.
Yeah,
losing.
They've lost every team.
Yeah, and I'm a big Oakland A's guy, so hated what was happening to that city. That's unfortunate. But Hawks Zone live again. Love to see it. You guys are killing it. Appreciate it. Kick it up. Get a few more in here. I find it funny. Everyone forgets about Lamea, guys.
I don't think he's forgotten about. He's now the left guard backup, and I think it's kind of solely his spot now as the left guard backup to Zabel. I think Lamea is going to be on this roster. Like last night, we did a show with Dan and Michael Thompson, Dan Viens of Seahawks Forever, and we were going through the offensive line, and we all kind of agreed that Lamea is a lock on this roster because he's now being moved over to left guard. And I think, to Mookie's point earlier in the show, Sundell and Haynes and Bradford, one of them will, whoever loses out in that, in my opinion, I think Bradford might be trending in that direction potentially. I think they will be off the team, as in moved or traded. I don't think Sundell gets traded because he's going to be your backup center, regardless if he's not the starting center. I think the guy that moves is between Haynes and Bradford, because the other thing I'm hearing out of camp from a lot of people is they really, really like Bryce Cable and they really want to see him develop. And so I think he's now kind of that piece of, we're not going to subjugate him to waivers because we're afraid someone will take him. So we want to find a way to keep him on the roster. Well, if we move LeMay to left guard, we still have that flexibility. And then I think they're going to move off of Bradford. And then if it's Haynes and Cable are your right guards with Sundell as your emergency or your potential, hey, he is the backup right guard, but he's going to be the backup center first, you kind of get that kind of situation. I don't know, Mookie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't forget about LeMay. He's just, I know that he's been working out at left guard since OTAs and mini camps. So there's not been any thought about moving him back to right guard. And Josh Jones is also your guard tackle, versatile swing guy. But we have to, of course, consider that Monday was just the first day of padded practice. I really hope that one of the practice we go to at Renton is not the walkthrough day, because please don't let it be that one. But what we're going to find out over the next several days is the experimentation. It's going to go from rotation to eventually settling into more of a pattern. Because you remember last year at running back, it's hey, look at McIntosh getting some significant reps, and look at Olani getting significant reps, and then eventually McIntosh went out. And even on the offensive line, if you remember, McClendon Curtis was getting some first team looks and moving around, but really that was just code for, we were looking for a spot for you, and if it's not working out anywhere, then we're going to let you go. The one thing to consider with Bradford, I know you mentioned on Sunday, is he is not versatile. They're not having him play left guard. It's right guard or that's it. They're having Haynes try out at center. Jones, of course, has got guard tackle versatility. Zabel is going to be the left guard, but we know he's versatile enough to play all 5 positions if he needs to. So yeah, I'm not giving up on Lomea just yet. I think that he's a good backup, and he showed some good stuff. I think better stuff than Michael Jarrell did. Speaking of backup options, so yeah, it's good to have a lot of offensive linemen who are young with some talent. It's just a matter of finding which ones are the best 5 to create a good starting offensive line, and keeping a couple around who are more than good enough to start or get snaps in a pinch. That's what I like, is that how many they've drafted so many linemen in recent years, that you at least have the sense that they can't all suck. A few of them are going to be good, and a couple are going to be at least capable enough. I'm not looking for 5 All-Pros. I'm looking for young talent on the offensive line that you can draft, develop, and build up into being good starters, because that's just been a thing that the Seahawks have struggled to do.
Yeah, numbers game, right? Let's pull this interesting one. This always gets talked about when an OC takes off, and maybe a little premature because we haven't stepped on the field yet. I always think it's a good problem to have, because it means your offense is actually clicking and your team's probably doing pretty good, like a la Detroit Lions. But let's say Kubiak's offense takes off. He's gone next year. Is there anyone on the staff that makes sense if you guys were to look ahead? Bryce?
So I think if Kubiak were to leave, I think we'd see a lot of our offensive staff leave with him. I think you'd see Rick Dennison leave and John Benton leave. I think they're all kind of attached together. Now, I don't think Kubiak's going to be gone, even if this offense does take off. I think he's kind of in more the Darrell Bevel mold, where part of the head coaching thing is how charismatic are you and all those type of things. And I don't know if that's in Clint Kubiak's wheelhouse, the same way even Mike McDonald, as we've seen now, has become more of that charismatic kind of leader in to an extent. For me, though, I think if you were to look at somebody, I think the logical choice now that you've gone back to this scheme and this style of offense would be actually Jake Peets, who's still here as the pass game coordinator. Jake Peets knows this offense. He's a big reason, and I've heard this from multiple sources, a big reason Cooper Kupp actually did come to Seattle is because of Jake Peets and their relationship. I think it would be a much easier transition for Jake Peets to take over as your offensive coordinator, because he knows this system. He knows it very well. And that's why it was so interesting to me last year when they did bring him in and Ryan Grubb was here, it was like, are they really trying to, potentially look into the future? I know he didn't get the job because they were able to get Clint Kubiak. I think if they hadn't got Kubiak and, they missed out obviously on Fraley, he decided he was going to stay, or Frank Haley, he was going to stay where he was in Detroit. I think Peets might have been the guy, actually, honestly. Like, I think they may have eventually had to pivot to him and take that job. So that would be my choice. I don't know, Mookie, is there anyone else on this coaching staff you'd go with?
Yeah, it would be Pete's to me too. And it is Hank Fraley and not Frank Haley. It's that classic Spoonerism name where, if you did flip it around, it makes another name. But yeah, I think Pete's makes the most sense because they got rid of almost everybody on the offensive side of the ball last season, but Pete stayed. And I think that is important. So with Kubiak, if he does really well, I think the Seahawks would have to have an elite offense, like a Super Bowl championship contending level offense for Kubiak to garner significant head coaching consideration. But we have seen in this era of the NFL, the flavor of the month play caller is going to get head coaching consideration. Now, I don't think, well, just to back up for a minute, Kubiak was the pass game coordinator or something like that in San Francisco. So he was a hot offensive coordinator name from what I recall. But I don't remember him actually interviewing for head coaching jobs. This is going to be his first, his first full season as Seahawks offensive coordinator, but it's only his third season as a play caller. 1 year with Minnesota on a coaching staff that got doomed. And then last year, doomed coaching staff, even more doomed roster. So we don't have a lot of great evidence with Kubiak as far as what he is as an OC. So yeah, this might go a long way toward determining if he's going to be a big time potential head coaching candidate, because that is I don't want to say drawback, but that is one of the things about having a defensive guy as your head coach, is that if it's an offensive minded coach, somebody with an offensive coordinator background or something, and they're the play caller, they're going to stay. So they're going to be the head coach. You can't upgrade too much from head coach unless you go from a bad team to a better team. But a defensive-minded head coach with a hotshot offensive coordinator, we've seen so often over the years that hotshot offensive coordinator ends up leaving for a head coaching job. But tell you what, if Kubiak is so good that he is a head coaching candidate, then I'm pretty happy, because that means the Seahawks have a good team in all likelihood.
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly my point. And you could also be really bad and then look for a new coordinator as well, like we just saw last year with Ryan Grubb and one and done. So, I mean, it's hard to win. But like you said, Mookie, it's a good problem to have. It's funny. I wear an NBA hat because I've worn a couple NBA hats, but it's just we get the NBA questions and comments flooding in now. Might have to change this to the Atlanta Hawks zone rundown, but we got Joker was more emotional winning a horse race in Croatia than winning an NBA chip. Mookie, what's your take on that? Joker's kind of one of those guys, you see him out there, he just kind of nonchalant wins a ship, and I'm going to go back to my farm and, whatever. It's kind of feels like a side gig to me. What do you think about that comment?
The man loves his horses. He's more emotional about the horse race. Like he treats the NBA as a job, but horse racing is his passion. I respect that, man. He feels like a dude who's going to eventually retire pretty young. Yeah. Even though I would want him to just put on a helmet and watch him just throw an American football around. He's already amazing with the basketball in his hands, but this dude's got like NFL level vision, but on an NBA court. So, good on the Joker and good for his horse. But man, I wouldn't want to be the horse if he's on my back. I mean, usually jockeys are pretty small in stature, but Jokic would be kind of like when Shaq rode a horse.
Oh man, crazy. Guys, a couple more here? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do 3 more. Let's do 3 more and then we'll get out of here.
We'll get out of here. Did we do this one?
We have not.
We did not. But but this is coming back from I'd rather be flying X-Wing again. We've been looking for average to good O-line for a long time. Cross is at least good. Sign him now while it's cheaper, and that leaves you a little wiggle room to move later if you have to. I mean, they're pretty good with the cap, but, again, we've touched on Cross quite a bit. I mean, anything else to add on that, guys?
No, I mean, it makes sense. A little wiggle room later if you have to. And yes, they have the cap room, but we're also having to acknowledge the potential Boone extension, JSN extension, all that stuff down the line. But just keep Cross. I don't need an elite line. I just need a good enough, not a good enough, like a good offensive line. If I have the Eagles O-line, amazing. But good can get you deep into the playoffs.
I'm going to laugh when Locke wins a starting job. I mean, if Darnold can make a comeback.
Yes.
Yeah. Should we end on that? Anything else here?
Do we have one more? Yeah, if Locke wins the starting job, or if Locke wins the starting job, then the Darnold free agent contract moves up the rankings as one of the worst signings ever if that happens. But
All right. I think that's it for tonight, guys.
Yeah, great Q&As, guys. We appreciate everyone flooding it in. And yeah, especially on a middle of the summer night, you guys hanging out, talking Hawks again with us, and or just listening to us talking Hawks. So yeah, awesome stuff, guys. I know Bryce got some cool stuff coming up. You guys are going to be down at camp. There's going to be some live shows. Why don't we talk about that real quick here? Let everyone know what's happening.
Yeah, so I'll put this up. So, guys, Seahawks Ultimate Crossover live show from Fast Fashion Brewery. And there's the address for you on there. This will be put out by everyone that you see in this image here on Twitter. But we're doing a live show there before the Seahawks Fan Fest or Football Fest game at Lumen Field. So come down. We're going to be having myself, Brandon Kane, Mookie will be there. Dan Viens of Seahawks Forever will be there. And we will also have Corbin Smith dropping by from 2 to 3 to kind of chat and answer some questions. So, guys, come have a drink. Come meet us. It'd be great to meet all you guys that are constantly in all of our different chats and stuff and supporting our shows on the different platforms here. So, yeah, come on down. And we'll also be there on Friday. Myself and Dan will be there Friday night doing a show for Seahawks Forever as well. So the big show's on Saturday, but me and Dan will also be there Friday. So if you want to come both days, more the merrier. Come on down.
That's awesome. That's gonna be a lot of fun. So guys, yeah, get down there, hang out. Mookie, what else is going on over at Field Goals? Let everybody know here.
Well, I just want to add that Bryce and myself will also be at the Friday practice at Virginia Mason Athletic Center down in Renton, or up at Renton for me. I mean, we're meeting in the middle. Bryce up in Canada, I'm here in Oregon, so we're gonna converge out of Western Washington and head over to Renton on Friday, and cross the lake, and then go to Lumen Field for Saturday's football fan fest. So yeah, you can come join us, have a lot of fun watching the Seahawks practice, and then hopefully nothing bad happens like what happened on Saturday with Kenny Mack. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Looking forward to doing the super show on Saturday with Brandon, Bryce, Dan, and Corbin. So it's going to be great. So we're taking Hawks Zone Rundown on the road, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be awesome. So, guys, appreciate everyone that's got the comments in, hanging out with us tonight. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel, share the videos, like the videos. All that helps with the channel. Appreciate the support. Yeah, we got some other stuff coming up too. We got some preview shows dropping this week as well with the Niners and the Rams. So make sure you check that out as well. So that's it for us tonight. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.